Hi there, I'm Brittany. I am doing this presentation, which will be more of an exploration for my Japanese acupuncture class at East West with Dr. Acosta. And what we're going to explore is how the extraordinary vessel treatments that are used with the ion pumping cords in Japanese acupuncture can relate to the emotions in the body and what those specific treatments might be able to treat on a psycho-emotional level or some of the effects in the emotional body from those treatments. So we'll look at about 4 different treatments, talk about what the steps of the ion pumping cord treatments are, and how that ties into some of the emotions. There are so many directions that you can go with the 8 extraordinaries. I'm just a student. I'm going to present a little fraction of what I know. I still have so much to learn, and hopefully I'll learn something in the process of sharing with you all. So, in Japanese acupuncture, there's several different ways to treat because it's a whole body of its own body of medicine. One of those ways to treat is the ion pumping cord treatments. They are root treatments dealing with the central imbalance with the patient because they are treating the 8 extraordinaries, which are going to lie deeper than the superficial channels of the body. They're vessels that can collect things deeper and have Jing in essence that can move out into those superficial channels and kind of give us clear the way. So every one of the 8 extraordinary channels has an affinity with the heart shin. So like we just said, they're root treatments. They're getting to the heart of the issue. They're all going to tie back into that shin. And so then that's where you're going to get into the emotions and the stress and their ability to treat things like that, in that of that nature. So with the Renmai, how do I want to do this? Well, let's just go through what those treatments look like, just to root us in the Japanese acupuncture part of the presentation. So we're going to take their pulse and palpate their abdomen. So you'll do the diagnosis through that, and then you'll give the treatment. The treatment is usually like a figure 8 shape with 4 points and 1 central point. And you attach the cords to the points to create kind of a figure 8 motion of energy moving through the body. And that is the first step of the treatment. Your second step of the treatment would be to find the back shoe points that line up with the points that you have used on the front of the body. So you'll have the patient flip over and you would use the back shoe points at that point that correlate with the points that you used before, if that makes sense. So the third step would be to use adjunctive therapies or techniques. And so this might be choosing to needle points on the body that are related to the main complaint that your patient has or the main complaint that you're treating. So in order to reinforce the treatment you're giving your patient, you would choose points that correlate maybe to in their wording or in their essence to what you are already trying to treat. So we are going to focus on that first step, the first step of diagnosis and treatment. And so excuse me. Doesn't want to cooperate. Okay. So one that Dr. Acosta has shared with us that we've tried on ourselves and had really good results with, and also tried in clinic and on other patients and had really good results with, is the Valium treatment. And so in the Valium treatment, you're going to have Sanjiao 5 on your right, gallbladder 41 on your left, and then you're going to have PC6 on the left and spleen 4 on the right. And then in the center point, you'll have Ren 12. So that would be the basic form of that treatment. With every one of the variations of this treatment, you will always have spleen 4 and PC6. So you're going to be treating the Chong Mai and the Yin Wei Mai. So the Chong Mai can relate to emotions like anxiety, depression, addictions, negativity, fear, worry, whether or not the inner and outer worlds match up, intergenerational imprinting, and obsessive thinking, kind of things that run through our blood. And then the Yin Wei Mai is going to deal with insomnia, being torn emotionally, anxiety, phobias, pensiveness. You get that like yin quality, obsessed, heartache, apprehension, connection to the inner and outer self. So every treatment that we do with that Valium direction is going to include kind of treating that yin, obsessive, depressive, fear, worry, anxiety kind of sense. And then there's three different variations of that treatment. So in one variation, we said Sanjiao 5 and gallbladder 41. So that's going to treat like a more, from the basic viewpoint, a more mental emotional direction. So feeling disconnected, because gallbladder 41 connects the daimai, and so you're reconnecting the body through connecting through that center point. And so the daimai can have to do with indecision, hypersensitivity, cold feet, feeling frustrated, judgmental or self-opinionated, having suppressed anger, worry, being fragile. And with Sanjiao 5, it can be something like being overwhelmed by what you, I'm getting ahead of myself. The Yang Wei would be connected with the daimai. So when you're treating with these extraordinaries, when you treat one, you're passively treating the other, because the master point for the daimai is gallbladder 41 and the couple point is Sanjiao 5, and the opposite is true for the Yang Wei, as we know. So the Sanjiao 5 would be the master and the gallbladder 41 would be the couple. So Yang Wei has to do with forgetfulness, confusion, indecision, holding on to the past, obsession, having no willpower, a lack of trust, no self-control. This would obviously be negatively affected. Inaction, and then Shaoyang emotional issues, so pericardium issues. So, or Sanjiao issues. So one of those issues can be when we feel overwhelmed by the outer world. On the news, seeing the wars, seeing the injustices, seeing the fighting in the country, and kind of becoming overwhelmed by that. It can also be people who have unfair expectations of themselves and others, which sounds like more of a mental issue, but can just be an issue that can be helped with this point. And a lot of my information comes from David Hartman. He has a wonderful class that you can take. I'm trying to think of what the name, let me find it real quick. What the name of this school is. Healthy Seminars. So he's on Healthy Seminars. He has a 10-hour course on the 8 Extraordinaries. That is where all of my information on the emotions are coming from. So he's just great information, great point combinations. I really love what he has to say. So one of the things he was saying is that Sanjiao 5 can be kind of like, it can have fast results and it can have long results. So you can have it's going to be a bit of a journey for the patient. It might be something that's revealed over the course of time, that their relationship with the things we talked about, with their expectations of themselves and others, and with maybe being overwhelmed by injustices, like they can develop a better relationship with that over time. And while they might see some very instant results, um, it'll be a journey to some realization that helps them deal with that. Whether or not you believe that, that's fine. We're all entitled to have our own experiences with all this and opinions. So I think it's worth saying, now that we've talked about, in that initial treatment, we have Sandjaw 5 and gallbladder 41 and PC6 and spleen 4. So we do have the yin wei mai and the yang wei mai in that treatment. So just a little bit on the wei mai. They're the linking vessels. They're the most superficial. So you're going to get the quickest results because they're going to connect with the 12 main channels most easily. They help connect our present self to our past and our future. So some of the most significant things that have happened in our past and maybe negatively affected us, it will help to bind that to our present so that we can move through and forward. It can also help with, being caught up in future. Can help with genetics, like pre-heaven genetics, but then also ancestral, can go back many generations to connect what we have gained or hurts, like we were just talking about, past hurts, and kind of bring them into the present body, in the present moment. And it can also help us connect with our children, like our branches. If we don't have children, maybe it's the children of the world. How we want to, with PC6, like how we want to be in the world, and feeling a connection to the pre-heaven source that gives us a sense of purpose, and how we connect that sense of purpose with future generations. So that's a little bit on that. And so in the Valium treatment, when you do that first protocol, you are treating both of the Wei Mai channels, and also the Dai Mai and the Chang Mai. And so even just, thinking physically of that, it says like judgmental, frustrated, suppressed anger, like depression. It's like just a lot of like pushing down, and then like the yin kind of not being able to, it's just an imbalance. So when we do these figure 8 treatments, it really can, in my opinion, create some balance, some balancing movements. Another variation of that treatment would include, every time, like I said, spleen 4 and pericardium 6, but you can do kidney 6 and lung 7. And so that says for more respiratory issues, which maybe in an emotional level, we could relate that to grief, shortness of breath, it's saying. So the yin chow, which would be kidney 6 and lung 7, has to do with deep fear, being unable to enjoy life, alcoholism, sadness, anxiety, insomnia and somnolence, nightmares. So somnolence, sleeping too much or feeling tired all the time, but then also not sleeping enough can also be a yin chow issue. It starts dealing when you get into the chows with being able to fall asleep and being able to wake up. It can have to do with faith in the self, in yourself, and being a part of the flow of life, being open to the unknown and being in the unknown. How we think of ourselves, how we talk to ourselves, how we see ourselves, the truth of who we really are, and then some of the false thoughts of who we are, the inner critic and the inner advocate. So that would be in that treatment. I think we're just, for time's sake, I'm just going to go through the different variations of the Valium treatment, because otherwise this is going to be so much longer than you guys want or I intended. So the other, if we switch those points around, lung 7 and kidney 6, then we go into the Rinmai. And the Rinmai can have to do with, it's kind of like mothery. So it's like our ability to birth new ideas, birth new plans. It can have to do with anxiety, irritability, being fragile, feeling ungrounded, fear of the new, grief. It kind of sounds like an imbalanced mother when you describe it to me. And so it also can treat addictions, anger, and anxiety. Sorry, let me turn this off. Many of the treatments can treat those specific things. And so anger and anxiety are on many of these, and addictions. So with this Valium treatment, like by treating the 8 extraordinaries, you're always probably going to have that passive effect of treating some of those deeply rooted imbalances. So yeah, I think that's all I'll say about the kidney 6, lung 7 variation. So here where, we had right Sanjiao 5 and left gallbladder 41, we then would have right lung 7 and left kidney 6. So then technically we're treating the Renmai and then, passively treating the Yin Chow, in my opinion, which again, I'm just a student, so whatever that 2 cents is worth. But the last treatment, the variation of the Valium treatment, would be, and I think you guys know that with the Japanese treatments, because we've done them in class, we're connecting those ion pumping cords from the master point to the couple point. So with the last one, we would be using UB62 and SI3, which is going to be the Dumai and the Yang Chow. And the Yang Chow is going to be like society's view of us, factual views of us, and perceived or fictional views. It can have to do with overthinking, restlessness, feeling overwhelmed. I don't know about you, but when I'm overly concerned with other people's opinions, I'm going to be overthinking, restless, feeling overwhelmed. It says nervous tension, which can tie into what's haunting us, or the skeleton in the closet, which can be treated by the Yang Chow. And that can be known or unknown. Can have to do with mental agitation, manic depression, again with the insomnia or somnolence. Yeah, it's having a sense of yourself within society and how we relate with that. So then if we switch the points and the master point becomes SI3 and the couple becomes bladder 62, now we're into the Dumai. So this is going to be kind of more yang emotions, but not necessarily, because they can be kind of fluid. So you have anxiety. Depression has more of a yin sounding quality, but we have anxiety, mania, poor memory. The insomnia usually has nightmares, feeling overwhelmed, emotional paralysis, anger, survival or scarcity issues. So kind of like the provider, the dad, like has no issues with survival. So we have listed in both of these channels feeling overwhelmed. So maybe if we see someone who we feel like is just feeling overwhelmed, this might be a good thing. palpitations are a sign that we should use these 2 points. It says it brings fire and water together and balances them. So when you think of the Dumai and you have, wait, I'm saying Daimai. Dumai could also connect the kidneys in the upper jiao, but I don't want to say that for sure because I don't know if that's a thing. Still so much to learn. So with that variation, you'd be treating the Dumai and the Yang Chao. So you have one treatment, because that's what we got to, the Valium treatment, and you have 3 different variations that end up including all 8 of the extraordinaries in one way or the other, and it's connected by a Ren point. So we always have, like when we said that the Ren channel had to do with birthing new things, or then being, if it's imbalanced, fear of the new. It's interesting that we're taking these treatments and then like giving them a womb that they can be born from. And that is all I have for you guys. I went way over time. I hope this is okay. Have a nice rest of your day, and thank you for your time.